Greetings, brave adventurers! My name is FoxyBard, and we're back! This is going to be the conclusion and continuation of the story from Wednesday. Now, before we get started, I do need to equivocally state that this is a rough one. If you are not okay with any of the following, please feel free to click off the video. Blood. Assault. Discussions of mental health crises. Threats of sexual violence. Homophobia. And there may be a few others. If I forgot any, I will put them on screen in the video, so you can make sure. Anyway, this one starts out fast and doesn't really slow down, so grab yourself a seat around the fire as we dig into the conclusion of this tale of role-playing. This story once again comes to us from the user La Petite Moore, and I now know what that means, and good for you, OP. Yeah. And it's titled, I swear, I'm not really a vampire, I just play one on the weekends. And this is part 2 of 2. I already gave you more than enough of an intro to this one, so tale, start. Now, one last time, trigger warning, seriously, don't ignore this one. If you're not okay with any of the things I mentioned, don't watch this video. There is almost no way that this video remains monetized, so wish me luck. Hey, support me on Patreon, patreon.com/FoxyBard, and I will see you in the next video. It's not quite as bad as this one. It took me a few weeks afterwards to work out exactly what happened when. So many things occurred in quick succession that it all blurred into chaos and confusion. As the words, "Alejandro, dude, it's been a..." came out of my mouth, he pulled a glass jar out of his leather jacket, popped off the top, and doused my face, hair, and chest in a warm, sticky, coppery-smelling red liquid. I stopped dead, stunned, while my brain screamed. Blood, 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 he threw blood on you! Oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god, is it real? Please don't be real, oh god, oh god, oh god! I was attempting to clear the blood out of my eyes when Alejandro put a hand on my chest and pushed me into the door alcove next to the cart. I slipped on the puddle that was dripping off me and half fell against the door in the entryway. Alejandro followed me down, scrabbling at my chest. I couldn't figure out why he was trying to rip my tank top off, so I was desperately trying to keep my shirt on while still trying to get my eyes clear. When I could finally see, I realized he was holding what looked like a homemade steak. And she means the wooden one, not the meat one. He had been trying to get a clear shot at my chest to kill me, to drive a real stake through my very real, very human, wildly beating heart. The entire time, he was screaming about my scar, vampire queens, New Orleans, an altar in the woods, helpless young women, and how he had to get rid of me so they'd be safe. I was fighting as hard as I could, screaming so loud it took a week for my voice to recover. After what felt like an eternity, but was probably just a few seconds, someone in the stream of people realized I was being attacked and hauled Alejandro off me, while someone else ran to find a beat cop. 3 guys had Alejandro pinned, one repeatedly slamming his hand holding the stake against the wall until he dropped it on the ground. A woman was using a handkerchief to try to clean the blood off my face. The inconsequential details that burn themselves into your brain when your life is in danger is both funny and awful. I remembered that the handkerchief the woman was using felt very expensive, smelled like roses, and had 2 stalks of lilac embroidered on each corner. The disconnect between the scent and the corner details struck me as hilarious. When the stake was dropped from Alejandro's hand, it rolled across the sidewalk, stopping against my bare foot, and I lost it. I started laughing and crying hysterically, and by the time the guy came back with the officers, I was sitting on the sidewalk hiccuping while tears made pink trails through the blood on my face. Initially, the officers thought the blood was mine and were insisting on an ambulance. I was able to point to the shattered jar and got them to understand the blood had been thrown at me, animal rights activist style. They put Alejandro in cuffs and radioed for a car to pick him up, but were having a hard time clearing the sidewalk. Between the blood, the screaming, and Alejandro's continued ranting about vampire queens and protecting young women from me, we were the most interesting show the Grove had seen that hour. My girlfriend showed up right as they were hauling Alejandro to his feet, which triggered a violent reaction in him. She rushed over to me, almost bowling over the nice lady and one of the guys in her terror at my appearance. I was reassuring her that the blood wasn't mine, and no, I didn't know whose it was, which caused another mini panic attack as I wondered whose blood was on me. When Alejandro kicked one of the officers in the knee and was either trying to drag my girlfriend away from me, attack me again, or both. She threw herself on top of me while the officers dragged him off and punted him into the squad car. My boss showed up with her husband around that point, took in the blood covering me, the sidewalk, and the wall, the police, the muffled shouting coming from the squad car, and asked my girlfriend if she could get me back to my place alone, or did she need help from boss's husband. Girlfriend declined help, retrieved my messenger bag and flip-flops from under the cart, and carefully guided me the 3 blocks home after confirming with the officers that I could go. She gave them my address and phone number and promised to remind me that they would be stopping by the next day to get my statement. Sadly, this was the first night we spent together as a couple, and she spent it cleaning blood off of me and holding me through multiple nightmares that woke me up shaking and crying. The officers arrived to take my statement on Monday after briefly calling me Sunday to tell me it was complicated, and they'd be a day later than they thought. Girlfriend was amazing, stayed with me the entire time, and helped me tell my side to the cops as my voice was still shot from the screaming, crying, and hysteria. OP? Just an aside, marry that woman. That is wife material right there. Holy cow, she's incredible. Marry her. It turned out that Alejandro had been a patient at a mental health institution in Tampa, had escaped during a period of outside exercise, and had disappeared. He seemed normal weird when I first met him, so I had no idea how seriously disturbed he really was. When he'd been frozen out of the LARP, he'd spiraled hard and fast. His ability to separate reality from fiction had dissolved, and he decided my character's backstory was the truth. Alejandro told the officers that I was a 300-year-old vampire from New Orleans who had moved to Miami to establish a coven of nubile young virgins to feed my insatiable lusts for blood, sex, and corruption of the innocent. He had been stalking me for 3 weeks and had observed my relationship with my girlfriend move from friends to dating. This birthed the idea that I was creating this coven of innocent women to use and corrupt. The crucifix scar confirmed for him that I was actually a vampire. I love a corruption arc in media as much as the next person, but not in real life. Alejandro, He had spent the week prior to the attack building an altar in a 2 to 3 acre wooded preserve area a few miles away from my cottage, and spent the Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday before the attack making steaks while waiting next to his altar for me to show up. He was hoping to entice me to the spot by covering the altar in pints of cow and sheep blood purchased from a local butcher. It was this concoction, mixed with minced garlic and orange oil, that he had thrown on me. Why orange oil? I honestly sobbed with relief when they told me it wasn't human blood. I was terrified his insanity had driven him to hurt or possibly kill another human being to get this supposed foolproof enticement. Alejandro told the officers that he had hidden near the altar, waiting for me to arrive seduced by the odor of blood. As I was feeding, he would jump out and stake me, then horrifically sexually assault me, before driving the stake all the way in because he needed to
cleanse my corruption from this world, show me the proper use for a woman, and convert me to the Christian God with love and the gift of eternal peace.
With violence. That's the gift of eternal peace. The violence. The longer he waited by his perfect me trap, the longer I
stubbornly refused to give in to my true nature and desires.
The angrier and more determined my personal Helsing got. He eventually decided that if I wouldn't come to him, he would come to me. He'd planned to drive the stake in just enough to immobilize me, then he'd tell people I was sick, take me home, and convert me at his leisure. One of the officers walked to my unusable back door, opened it, and retrieved a dirty red duffel bag that contained cuffs, several steaks, 3 jars of the blood, garlic, orange oil mixture, and other things. Alejandro told me that he'd broken into my house before going to my work and stashed his
holy tools
where he knew I'd never look. If I hadn't been at work, he'd planned to go back to my place and hide outside next to my back door until I came home and fell asleep. He knew that I never locked the back door because no one could come in from that direction. Needless to say, I moved a few months later because I didn't feel safe anymore, and looking at the back door didn't give me the joy that it had. I do remember a much funnier story that involves a party, the back door, and a large red bucket with $240 worth of vanilla pudding, if anyone's interested. You know, I would actually love to hear a funny, fun story with you after all of this. That'd be great. I was sick to my stomach as the officers told me about his confession. Alejandro explained that he was going to
cure me of my unnatural lust for women and blood.
At the same time, he also thought that once he explained what he was trying to do, the officers would gladly set him free and possibly even help him. When the officers questioned him about the fact that he'd regularly seen me walking around during the day, eating food and drinking, putting on makeup in a mirror, doing normal human things that were supposedly impossible for vampires, Alejandro became very agitated. He tried to attack the officers that were questioning him for
falling for my lies so easily.
The officers left after a few hours, leaving me to fall apart in the privacy of my home and my girlfriend's arms. My boss let me have another day to calm down, but I did return to work after that. I also went back to the club, but excused myself from LARPing for a few sessions until I could handle the idea of playing a vampire again. The GMs were really great about the whole thing, didn't pressure me to return until I was ready, and rearranged the storylines I was heavily involved with, so the pace of the game wasn't interrupted. I returned a few months later, determined to not let some broken, insane man deprive me of one of the pure joys of my life. 6 months later, Alejandro was formally charged with assault with intent to cause grievous bodily harm, attempted murder, attempted rape, causing deliberate harm to federally protected land, intent to commit a crime on federal land, assault on an officer of the law, and a few other charges I can't really remember right now. I know some of these are probably incorrectly worded. It was 25 years ago, so cut me some slack. He was declared incompetent to stand trial, moved to a mental health facility further upstate, then eventually transferred out of state to a more secure facility in Tennessee or Georgia, I think. Every few years, I used to get a phone call or letter informing me that he applied for release and was denied. Each time, he told them he'd immediately track me down and
finish the job he was put on Earth to do.
I eventually asked them to only inform me if he was released. Otherwise, I didn't want to be reminded of him. I can laugh now at the sheer insanity of the whole situation. How little things combined in random ways, like me trying to introduce someone to something I thought was a fun weekly escapism. A stupid scar caused by a stupid allergy. A fictional backstory crafted for a fictional character. Me finding an unexpected relationship in a good friend and discovering my bisexuality. All of those disparate facts merging to incite the complete mental breakdown and obsession of someone I genuinely thought was a mellow, easygoing stoner who got a little too intense about a role-playing game. So, Alejandro, you keep telling the truth every time you apply for release, we'll both stay safer that way. And, for the last time, I'm not a vampire, I only play one on the weekends. Thank you to anyone who stuck around till the very end. I hope you have a great day, and may your RPG groups always arrive on time for every session. Tale end. I told you this one was rough, but OP got through it okay, and I'm really glad that she can laugh about it now. That's incredible. I can't imagine what things were like in, honestly, even just the days or weeks after that, or even the years after that. getting those notifications that, hey, that person who assaulted you wants to come back and assault you again. I have been very vocal in the past that I don't support the idea of prisons or other places to lock people away as punishment, but there are some people out there who you do legitimately need to keep away from the greater part of society for the safety of others in that society. I truly do hope that Alejandro gets the help he needs, and maybe he becomes more okay someday. But until that time, this is the best thing to happen for him. And OP, I really, really hope you married that woman, because she is incredible, and the best person you will ever meet, I swear. And also, that is one hell of a bisexual awakening. Wow. Oh. In the end, I'm glad you didn't give up on something you love, on LARPing, just because of that. It would have been reasonable if you did. That much trauma, of course, but I'm glad you didn't. And it's good that you get to share that thing you love with the people you love still. I know I'm just a weird purple fox on the internet, but I'm rooting for you. That'll do it for this week. I have some much more fun things planned for upcoming videos. We're definitely going to need a glory story to cleanse our palates after this one. And my Discord server bullied me into creating some more homebrew for you guys. Should be a lot of fun. I'm enjoying making it. Until that time, though, don't forget to like the video if you... well, okay, not if you liked it, but you want to support it, I guess? Subscribe to the channel if you've not yet done so, ring the bell notification icon if you'd like to be notified whenever I upload a new video, and leave me your comments down in the comments section below. You can also join the FoxyBard Discord at discord.gg/FoxyBard, and you can find me on Twitter at thatFoxyBard. As always, a huge shout out and thank you to my patrons over on patreon.com/FoxyBard. I couldn't do any of this without all of your support, and it means the world to me. But that'll do it for now. I don't have a clever quip for you, sorry. Let's just douse the fire and get back to our own adventures.